Heather Dennis, do you have a question?
I
Hi,
do,
Heather.
Gary. Hi, can you hear me okay?
I
Yep.
can.
Good. I'm wondering how comfortable you feel personally right now about the thought of getting on a plane for 6 straight weeks and staying in a hotel at the Gaylord where there's 1 million people and being confined in a selection committee meeting room with your closest friends for hours upon a time, or if you think some changes might need to be made to that process this year.
Well, the first answer is like probably most people. I shouldn't speak for too many people. I personally have taken this very seriously. For the first 2 months, month and a half, I didn't leave the house. I went out maybe one time to get some groceries, and my wife has done a lot of that. More recently, as things have opened up, I go out. I wear a mask. I don't go out a lot more than I have to. Recently, I have been on campus because I am part of that critical incident management group that has been getting together. But when I do, I wear a mask. I'm no closer than 6 feet from people, etc. So to answer your question now about my comfort level, I've not yet been on a plane. I'd have to figure out how long it would take to drive to Dallas. I probably would opt for the plane because getting back and forth. I can imagine I'd wear a mask. I can imagine in our meetings that they may adjust and have more space in between us. But again, remember, we have some planning meetings late this summer that are still potentially going to be in person. We don't start meeting as part of the committee until November. And so, that if it's 100 days until September 5th, it's a lot more than that until November. So generally, I'm comfortable taking the right precautions, washing my hands. Our doctors have really made it clear to me that wearing a mask and washing your hands and not touching your mouth is about 90% of what it takes to avoid the virus. So I'm pretty comfortable using those precautions. And between now and then, hopefully testing and my goodness, a miracle occurs and we have a vaccine.
What about, just a quick follow, the possibility, as you acknowledged earlier, of different teams, kind of everybody doing their own thing? How do you pick the 4 best teams if one team plays 10 games and goes 10-0 and another plays 12 and goes 10-2 or whatever?
Well, we haven't worked out any specifics, but there's as you know, Heather, there's a list of principles that the board created when the CFP was first put together. Those principles are still going to be guiding the decision and the goal. The goal is to identify the top 4 teams to play in the semifinals, and then to rank the teams through the top 25 after that. So the methodology in the scenario that you just described, the methodology would certainly have to change. But the principles would remain the same. That committee, there's 13 of us. We would come together with the great help of the staff, and we would put together a method and a process that follows the principles and identifies who that committee believes are the best 4 to play in that playoff.
Mark Morehouse?
This is a very political world, and COVID has become a bit of a, not a bit, but a political situation. Have you run into that with your staff? And does having direct access to the hospital, does that kind of erase a lot of things? Because in my experience with COVID so far, whenever you have somebody with a medical degree, people listen, and that generally cuts through the BS.
So I fully understand the reference to politics. We're a world divided. Pick any topic, and you have the far right and the far left. I get that. I get the question of medical and doctors, and I'm grateful for a lot of things about living in Iowa City, but one of the things I'm very grateful of is the incredible medical support that we have. You all know that I experienced it firsthand, and I was blessed during that process. What I want you to be a little bit more specific about in your question is the medical question and the politics, specifically, because my staff has been great in dealing with this. They hate being at home, or at least I think most of them hate being at home, would rather be in person. But a little bit more on the politics compared to the medicine. What specifically are you wondering?
When you have these meetings and with teams, or when you do have meetings with teams, how intermingled will medicine UIHC be? Will that staff be guiding players? Anybody with doubts, anybody who wants to make a political statement, that kind of thing. I imagine you'll have medical people talking them out of being political and making those types of statements, I guess.
Okay, I think I better understand. At the end of the day, you hit on the most important thing is we are going to be taking a lot of medical advice, whether it's having practice, putting on events, coming to work every day. It will be heavily weighted on medical advice. If we have a staff member or a student athlete who is concerned and it falls on some sort of making a statement, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to rely on medical advice, and we're going to respect free speech, and yet we're going to conduct our business. So again, maybe it feels like I'm skirting it. I'm not afraid to address it. I just don't know exactly what you're asking.
Yeah, I'm just thinking medical folks kind of brings authority to the subject and common sense. For me being political now.
Yeah, I mean, even the medical community, you have some doctors who believe the only way to address this current pandemic is to stay at home and never leave your house. There are medical professionals who will say that because medically that's what they believe. The common sense or reality, I don't know if it's common sense, but the reality is, this is my belief, I don't believe we can stay in our homes until a vaccine is discovered or created or put on the market. So my approach is, let's listen to the medicine, then let's match that with risk and risk analysis, and then let's go out of our homes and know the risk, and then do, to Heather's question earlier, I will be ready to go on a plane. I will wear a mask, and I'll wash my hands, and I understand I could contract the virus during that time. So we're going to approach it the same way with our staff, our coaches, and our student athletes.
Thank you.
I got time for just a couple more here. Mark Friend, do you have a question?
I do, Gary. I wanted to ask about the ticket, one of the ticket aspects. I was reading something that Chad wrote up a few days ago or a day ago.
I bet it was brilliant.
It mentioned, yeah, it was good. It mentioned that there was no guarantee that 2019 seats would be available in 2021 for ticket holders that were concerned about attending games, season ticket holders, I should say. Obviously, Chad does mention the point system and everything like that. But you did mention earlier in the Zoom call here about season ticket holders being able to retain their same seats. So could you, I guess, clarify if a season ticket holder is concerned about those tickets in 2019 or attending a game in 2019, will they still retain the rights to their same seat in 2021, or is it possible that they could lose that seat and have to, shift to somewhere else in the stadium?
Well, every scenario we're looking at, they would be able to retain their seats. The one scenario that we were guarding against for a while, and the reality is there will be some level of disruption this year. We don't know exactly what that'll be. Maybe we'll have a couple of sellouts, but it won't all be season ticket holders. Or maybe we'll have, I don't know what's going to happen. I know this, we have loyal season ticket holders. Season ticket holders who renew and choose to come are, this year they're going to receive the highest priority. If those that take a year off for whatever reason, medical, financial, I feel very comfortable telling you today, they will be able to get their seats back. The only scenario that I guess would throw that out is if 100% of the seats sold out this year to season ticket holders. That's just not going to happen. So if people take a year off and they come back in 21 and they followed all the other processes, paid their tickets on time, their donations, they're going to be able to get their seats back. We're going to take care of our season ticket holders like we have been. You know, we extended the date, we created payment plans, we assured people that if the season's disrupted, they'll get a credit or a refund, and we've been rewarded. There was a story today where somebody sent in their donation, and they sent, I won't say the name because I didn't ask permission, but they sent this beautiful letter, and they said they've been coming to games with their parents since the 1960s. And they listed, you know, some number of games that they've been to in a row. And they made their donation this year in the honor of their father. And whether we play the games or not, that donation will stay, you know, just as an honor to what Hawkeye football means to them. So those are the kinds of responses we're getting, and that kind of loyalty is going to be rewarded. We're going to get through this year, and it's going to be different. I don't know exactly how, but it'll be different. And hopefully, I'm going to assume 21 will be back to quote unquote a new normal, but a normal. And we're going to reward all those people who have taken care of us for a long time.
Thanks, Gary.
Steve Batterson or Don, one of you two have a question?
Yeah, Gary. Some of your peers have talked a little bit about maybe housing student athletes together in groups, at least through this voluntary part of things. Well, to what degree will Iowa student athletes be monitored or be in some sort of a control type thing once they're outside of the football facility or Carver Hawkeye?
Well, that's a really good point. One of the things that we know is that, let's say they're with us for 2 or 3 hours in this voluntary mode just about every day. That leaves a whole lot of hours that they won't be with us. And so one of the things that we're doing, but to answer your direct question, we are not making them come and live with us under direct control 24/7. We're not doing that. I would tell you that most schools that I've talked to are not going to go that route. What we are going to do is what we've done in the past, and just say, we have expectations of you as a student athlete to represent yourself and to do the right thing. And we're going to take it a step further for our staff and for our student athletes. They're going to sign a pledge of expectations as it relates specifically to this virus. And it's going to just say things like, I understand that, you know, the decisions I make outside of our facilities are really important for the safety of my teammates, of myself. And because what we're sharing with them is if let's say they all chose to be irresponsible as it relates to the virus, and we had an outbreak, and then that shut down their ability for sure. But, maybe the people that, if they infect other people, from being able to have this opportunity. They love the opportunity. They want to get back so bad. I feel very comfortable that they're going to do their best to take care of themselves, and it'll be a little bit on the honor system, but you'll also get screened every day. So they know the risk if they don't follow through. We will have dorms available for the incoming freshmen as they're able to come back this summer. Our dorm system has been great as part of this pilot project. They're going to create some dorm space for those student athletes so that they can also come back and be a part of the voluntary workouts.
All right, just a couple more here. Rob Howe, you have anything quick?
Yes, Gary. I'm just wondering, with the different timetable now, with the athletes coming back in June, July is usually a month where they're not around. What is the training schedule between when they come back, whatever, June the 8th and the beginning of the season? Are they going to be training all the way through that? Are they going to have time off? What's their schedule?
Yeah, we had that very discussion this morning, and we don't have a permanent answer. We certainly anticipate that if the flow of the summer just keeps getting better and better all the way through June, all the way through July, and then all the way through August, we certainly expect there will be breaks inside of that. Remember, these are voluntary workouts. So, student athletes, if they leave, they may have to go through the whole protocol again, but they certainly can leave the facility and not train all June. But once we get into it, we've talked about a 6-week, an 8-week, a 4-week, just depends on, what the situation is when we get, into training camp time. And if we just keep progressing in a positive way toward a normal quote unquote workout schedule, then we'll revert to the more traditional schedule, my guess is.
All right, we'll do one final question. John Bonenkamp.
Yeah, Gary, you talked about being apprehensive and and some days better than others. How much more confident are you now than you were a month ago, 2 months ago?
Yeah, I would say, as I mentioned, so no one knows, I don't know. Some of the positive keys that I identified early on, the fact that our states are opening up, the fact that that testing is so much more widely available. I sit in on these meetings where I hear about the incredible care at UIHC and the fact that the number of patients who are being treated for this virus continues to go down. Those are all things that make me feel better today than I did, say, a month and a half ago. What I can't predict, we've been doing this for 70 days. Obviously, I can't predict what's going to happen in the next 100 days. If things keep going at the pace they're going and they keep getting better and better and better between now and football season, obviously my excitement and enthusiasm will go up accordingly. So it's better today than it was a month or two ago because many things have improved and only time will tell over the next 100 days.
All right. Thanks, Gary. Thanks, everyone.